Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to the brand new series of The Big Show here on NVTV. We're here at the Lyric Theatre and we've got some great guests lined up on show number one, including TV star Debbie Magee. We'll also be meeting writer Emma Heatherington and we'll have live music from Maria Nickolay. We'll also be catching up with C21 Theatre Company and meeting the cast of Kiss Me Kate. But you couldn't come to the Lyric without mentioning the late great Sam McCready. And starting things off, we're going to meet his wife, Joan. Now, my first guest on The Big Show is possibly the hardest working woman in the Lyric Theatre at the moment. She's currently working on 3 separate shows, and it's always good to see her in Belfast. Joan McCready, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Robin. Good to see you again.
So welcome to the Lyric. It must bring back lots of special memories being here, because yourself and Sam were such huge supporters of the theatre, weren't you?
Oh yes, I mean Sam was a founder member of the old Lyric, even before Derryvolgie Avenue and Ulsterville Avenue in the O'Malley's home there. Yes, so we go back a long way, a long way.
So it's coming up on Sam's anniversary. It's been a year. What's life been like without Sam?
Different, of course, no question about that. But I've tried to move forward, and he wanted me to keep going, and he wanted me to, continue his work and his legacy. So that's what I've devoted my time to.
We've got this special evening coming up soon called The 7 Ages of Sam. How did all this come about?
Well, it came about actually from his memorial service over in Columbia, Maryland, and our son Richard, totally unknown to me, I had no idea what he was going to say, but he began by delivering the 7 Ages of Man speech from As You Like It, and he delivered it magnificently. Though I say so myself, he's not an actor, he's a musician. But he did that, and then divided his dad's life down into the various stages of his, right from his earliest days. And so I thought it was such a terrific format and such an easy one to go, I decided to call this The 7 Ages of Sam.
Now the show is sold out, but I believe there's people waiting for any returns at the minute.
That's right. Yes, there is a waiting list of hopefuls, and I hope they will be able to get something. I know that there are some people who, in the end, will not be able to show up on the night. But
and there's people travelling from America and all around for
there
this,
are
isn't
indeed,
there? Yeah.
yes. I have friends from Baltimore and friends from Chicago coming in, yes, for that, important event.
So the 10th of February is the night. What can we expect from the night?
You can expect a look at Sam from baby days to his first desire for an audience. I have a lovely little short story that he wrote, which I will do. Really funny. We're hoping to keep it very happy. You'll see lots of photographs. You will see some scenes from plays that he was in, performed by people who were in them years ago, or students from the drama studio here. There'll be performances. There'll be some music. There'll be a little bit of everything, and we'll deal with Sam not only as he was in the theatre, but also all his other loves: his love of painting, his art. His love of music, his love of dance. We will, of course, pay tribute to his time with Helen Lewis and that wonderful cooperation there between them. So there's a little for everybody.
How does it feel to be back acting in Belfast and acting at the Lyric Theatre in Cool Lady?
Good. That one all began. Funny enough, it was going to be a two-person piece. It was going to be a story about Lady Gregory with a sort of narrator, and then various characters from her life, filling in now and again. And then I went off to a meeting one evening, and this is now quite a few years ago, because Sam wrote it gave it to me as a gift for our 30th wedding anniversary. Wow. So we were 57 years married there just before he died. So it was written quite a while ago. But I came back from the meeting And he said, and we'd talked about the play and how it could evolve and how the piece could evolve and what things people say about themselves that are different from what other people say about them and so on. But he handed me, threw it down and said, there's your script. My script? So I lifted it and I looked and there was a little introduction and then it said Joan. I looked at the first page, turned it over, turned over the next one, turned over the next one. There was no other speaker. It had become the monologue, and I think that's when that whole idea of the one-person show evolved. And of course, he's 6 of them now under his belt.
Exactly, yeah.
And in fact, finished an adaptation of another one just a few weeks before he died. But I'm not saying anything about that one yet because I have to find an actor in DC who will do, well, I've found him, I know it's a dear friend of ours, who will do that one instead. It was written for himself, but I will do it. I will get it put on.
So I believe there's still some tickets left for Cool Lady. For people who don't know, give us a bit about the background to the story of it.
I hope most people know, of course, is probably most famous for collaborating with Yeats and sing on the setting up of the Abbey Theatre. That was her main claim to fame. She was one of a family of 16. Her father had 3 children already to a first marriage, and then when he married that wife, then there were 4 sons, 5 daughters, and 4 more sons. So she was a bit of a loner. She grew up, as she said herself, the runt of the family, short and plain. And the daughters of a family at that time, of a pretty well-off family, acres of land, were expected to marry well. There's no doubt about it. But Augusta felt that she would be left behind. She would be the one that was left to look after the hunting, shooting brothers, which she couldn't stand. And she made the best marriage of them all because she made the acquaintance of Sir William Gregory, who owned Coole Park. And he had been recently widowed. He'd been governor of Ceylon. And she made his acquaintance again when she was in Cannes with a brother who had tuberculosis, and he was sent out there, and she went out to look after him. When they got home, Sir William Gregory got back to Galway. He wrote letters to her. He made occasions for them to meet, and then he eventually proposed to her. And the idea that she would have a home of her own and would give up the hunting, shooting, fishing life for one of, as she says herself, culture, learning and society. She said yes. Now, she was only 27 and he was 63 when they married.
Wow, okay.
So he didn't live long after that, just another 12 years, but it was a very happy marriage, and of course she had her son. That's not to say she didn't have affairs, even while he was still alive. Oh, wow. And although she thought he knew nothing about them. But, it was an exciting life. She met the richest of culture, Ireland, all the great writers, and Douglas Hyde, first president, who was only her second favourite to Yeats, But there were such important happenings at the time, what she lived through.
Last time you were here, we went to see Sam's art exhibition. I believe we're going to get the chance to see some more of that artwork.
That's right. I've brought a number of his, more or less the last few years, into a retrospective exhibition once again at the Artisan Gallery. It will be running the whole of February. We have the official opening night on the 12th of February, because I can't do an official opening night the week before because I'm on stage here.
Exactly, yes.
So we've had to put that off a bit. But anyway, the exhibition will run for the whole of February, and it's there's a nice selection, I think, of his paintings. Yeah. Excellent.
Where's home these days? Is it still Baltimore?
It's still Baltimore, yes. As I say to so many people, our hearts have always been here.
Yeah.
But our heads are over there, and for me at the moment, I think it's sort of the right place to be. I think I will make that. You know, I will remain there. We've been there 35 years, so we've built up a tremendous coterie of friends and so on who are very, very supportive of everything I do, which has been superb. And of course, we have our son and his family there quite close by, so I think it's important. Yeah, I think I will base myself. That's not to say I won't be back here.
That's something. I hope you come back and do some more shows here in Belfast.
I hope I will. Yes, I hope so. Yeah.
Because Sam always liked to get back and work here as well.
He loved it. You know, whenever we were back here, we'd say, "What on earth are we doing over there?" And then we'd go back there, and we live in a lovely spot with our little rushy river running past the side door, and I mean, it's beautiful. And of course, the weather is.
Plenty of snow there at the minute.
There's some snow at the moment, and could be worse in the next few weeks. You never know. Yeah. But it's we get great extremes of weather, tremendous heat in the summer. But we usually escape back here for the summer, where it's much more pleasant. Yeah.
Give us the dates of Cool Lady again, Joan.
The 5th to the 9th of February. Each evening at 8 o'clock, matinee on Saturday and a matinee on Sunday.
Well, Joan, the very best of luck with the show, and I hope to see you back in Belfast again very soon.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you. Right, from theatre to novels now, and Rewrite the Stars is the latest book from Emma Heatherington. We'll find out more because she joins us here at the Lyric Theatre. Emma, welcome.
Thank you, Robin, for having me.
Tell us about Rewrite the Stars then. It's getting lots of great reviews, I see.
It is, yes. The reviews have been amazing. Rewrite the Stars is my latest novel. It's set in Ireland, as always, and it follows the story of a girl called Charlotte, who's a budding songwriter when we first meet her. She falls in love with her brother's bandmate, and it really is one of those serendipity moments, love at first sight. But unfortunately it's not meant to be, and the story follows her love for him really over a number of years. It's very much based on fate and all those what if moments that we face in life, and how decisions big and small can take us in different paths, and how their paths keep crossing. But the question is, will they or won't they be together in the end?
Okay, now it's all about music, of course, as well. And the interesting thing about this is you actually got Gareth Dunlop involved in writing a song for the book, didn't you?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Yeah, one of the main themes, as you say, is music, because both of the characters are songwriters, and there's a scene in the book where a song is sang, and originally I had thought that maybe I could pen a few lyrics myself, but after a bit of brainstorming with the people at HarperCollins, this light bulb moment came that what if it was a real song? And I've worked with a few singers and songwriters down the years, but I've been a huge fan of Gareth's work for about 6 or 7 years now. I've been following his career and watching him, get songs into TV series like Nashville and all those wonderful Nicholas Sparks movies. Yeah. So I suppose he was the top of my list, and it's one of those no harm in asking moments. So I contacted him, and I originally wanted to use a song that he'd written that was featured in Nashville, but just with red tape and stuff, that wasn't going to happen. So we ruled it out, and I thought that was it. But then Gareth very kindly came up with the idea that he could write a song especially for the book. So that was even better than the original idea. So I gave him the brief of the storyline, told him a bit about the characters, and he came up with the most beautiful song called You, which is just gorgeous.
So we're here in the Lyric Theatre today. Would you love to see one of your books being made into a play? Oh
my gosh, yes, absolutely, yes. I would never rule that out. I absolutely adore the theatre. I grew up with the Bardic Theatre on my doorstep, and my mother was involved. She was one of the early members of the Bardic, and I used to go with her to rehearsals and watch the magic of a story come to life on the stage, and then the thrill of the audience coming in and reacting to all that. So certainly it'd be lovely to see that happen someday.
Are you busy writing away at the moment?
I am, yes. So the second book of that 2-book deal is going to be released in November, and it's called Secrets in the Snow, and that's the first time I've ever said the title publicly.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that's an exclusive. Yes, it's just been decided upon that that's going to be the title of it. It's a love story again, and I think I've found my niche in the past 4 novels. This will be the 5th one now with HarperCollins. In that my books have moved away from the earlier romantic comedy style that I would have written with Poolbeg, and they're now more, I suppose, gritty, real life, emotional dramas, I would call them, where I deal with a whole variety of issues, such as, I mentioned organ donation, I've touched upon mental health, on bereavement, on loneliness, a lot of the issues that affect us in real life today. So they are still romance and romantic, but they pack a bit more of an emotional punch.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I'm working on still, that genre.
What about the whole writing process? Do you write every day, or do you take yourself away and lock yourself away for periods of time? How does it work?
Well, a bit of both, I suppose. I have a very busy home life. I've got 5 children altogether. Well, I say children, 4 young adults and a 5-year-old, but they all bring their own dynamic and their own needs, and so every day I suppose I would say that that's my first job. The writing, I work to deadline, so HarperCollins give me a deadline, and it's up to me basically to meet that deadline, whether it be working during the day when my youngest is at school, or burning the midnight oil at night to try and catch up maybe if something happens during the day that takes me away from that. So I just write when I can, but it's always in my head. I'm always churning around ideas or making notes somewhere if I can't actually sit down. But then by the time I do get to sit down, hopefully it's all ready to come out.
If there's any young writers watching this who'd love to be where you are now, what kind of advice would you give them?
Don't write for money. I suppose what I started out doing is really watching other writers' careers, investigating how they got to where they are, because everyone's path is different. For every big dazzling debut that you see with the big 6-figure advance, there are hundreds and hundreds of people who have grafted a lot harder to get there. So go to creative writing classes, I would say. Get people to read your work, and not just your mummy or your sister who's going to tell you it's brilliant. Go to someone maybe who can give you a bit of constructive criticism, and normally that comes in a like-minded person. There's a great writing network here, and look up on social media to try and find events that are out there where you can go and talk to other people who love doing it as much as you do. I think find your tribe and swap work and just practice. When I look back on some of my earlier efforts, they weren't totally the worst thing ever, but they probably weren't at publishing standard, and I've learned a lot. And read, of course, and read in the genre that you like to write, so that you can keep up with the market and what's out there. And I think the more you read and the more you practice, the better you're going to get.
Obviously your writing career is really taking off. Would you ever leave Northern Ireland?
No, I have no desire at all. I'm a Tyrone girl and always have been. I love travelling, obviously. I absolutely love travelling. I love travelling all over the country. I love finding new places. I've a great hankering to go to Nashville and check out all the songwriting over there. But no, home is where the heart is. I've got a big family, and I don't really see... Well, now the world's so small, isn't it? Because, you work from home, and the internet makes everything so reachable, so I don't really feel the need to. No, I'm quite happy where I am.
You must have a big love of music, and you mentioned Tyrone there. You did Philomena's book, didn't you?
I did, yes, I did. I'm very lucky to have Philomena as a friend for a long time, and when she was approached by the O'Brien Press from Dublin to write her life story, she just asked me initially, could I help her? Well, the helping turned into be a ghostwriting project, and we had great fun. She's an absolute legend and lovely person, and we still keep in touch. She just rang me a couple of days ago. We're always checking in on each other. To write someone's life story is a very personal thing, obviously. You get to know them very well and spend time with them, with their family, getting to know. I particularly enjoyed writing Philomena's earlier life, growing up in Pomeroy, and the way life was back then, a big family, and how she worked in a factory and then went on to become this absolute country music icon. She started out in, at a time when, crossing the border, going up and down was so dangerous, and she remembers like the Miami show band. She remembered a lot of incidents on the road where it wasn't necessarily safe, and her, her parents obviously had a fear of that. So I love getting into that whole grittier side of things, and the whole part of her life that you didn't see.
Yes, yeah.
And getting to know that, but she's a great person. You know, what you see is what you get, Philomena. She never changes.
Great stuff. Well, Emma, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us in the Lyric today.
Thank you so much, Robin.
Thank you. Now, Debbie Magee was in Belfast recently to open the Holiday World show, so I went along to meet her and talk holidays and, of course, talk about life without Paul Daniels. Here's what happened. Okay, it's time now to meet our special guest here at Holiday World today. It is the one and only Debbie Magee. How are you?
Oh, what an introduction. Thank you. I couldn't be better. I love being here in Ireland and a holiday show.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, hey, it's everybody's dream, isn't it?
We'll talk about holidays in a minute, but is it true that you used to come to Northern Ireland, to Portrush, for your holidays when you were a kid?
Well, I did go to Portrush for days out and things, but my father was from Northern Ireland, Dad was from here, so, you know, came over a lot to see my grandparents, and then when they went, my aunties and uncles and cousins, and I still do, you know, so, yeah, no, I love it.
All right, so over your years in show business, and obviously with Paul, you must have travelled the world, you must have seen many great destinations.
Oh, yeah, I'm very lucky. Yeah, I've been, you know, all over the place. There's still places I haven't been to, but yeah, Vietnam and Monte Carlo and all sorts of places all over America. So I've, very lucky girl.
And even back in your dancing days, you went to Iran, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I was 19, my poor parents, and I took off to Iran. I lived in Tehran for 7 months, and I would have stayed longer, but the revolution happened, and, you know, I had to get back home. But, yeah, really interesting living within another culture. You know, I think that's when you haven't travelled out of the UK, or, you know, from wherever you are based, even if you're European or American, you don't realise how different other cultures are.
Yeah. Okay, what holiday destinations are still in your bucket list? Where do you really want to go to?
Oh, God, you know, I hadn't really thought about that, because today I thought, well, I'll come and just see, you know, what else is out there. I haven't been to China, so I would like to go to China, and I think that's my main one, really. I've been to India, you know, I've done Thailand and all of those. There's lots of places I'd like to go back to, but I think my main one is, one day I'd like to get to China.
Lovely, okay. Have you ever had any real holiday disasters?
I think everybody has, and usually it's to do with the weather. It isn't what you're expecting. So you've either taken clothes that you're too warm in or too cold. So I've had a few of those. Paul and I always used to say, oh, we're on an adventure. And it became an adventure then to actually make the holiday good.
So I'm glad you mentioned Paul there. You must miss him terribly.
Terribly. I mean, when you lose somebody that you've been with for so long, and we worked and lived together, you know, that it does. I don't think it'll ever go away from me, but you just have to learn how to create a life without them, but still remember them. And that's what's lovely for me, is I've got all these amazing memories, and, you know, there's so many things I'm doing now, and I just think he would be so pleased at how I'm coping. Yeah.
And we saw you and Paul on TV for many years. That was kind of the glory days of television, when you had like 20 million viewers tuning in to watch you. That must have been so much fun.
Oh, you know, we just loved it. And you know, you create a family around you of all the people you work with, who I bump into every now and again. And when I was doing the Strictly Come Dancing series 2 years ago, the lighting guy who was on the magic shows came and said to me, do you know, Debbie, he said, this shows how old I am, I started on the Paul Daniels Magic Show, and this Strictly series, at the end of it, I'm retiring. So I started my career with you, and I'm finishing my career with you, which actually I thought was lovely. But so
you seem busier than ever these days as well. I know you've just finished Panto, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Did Panto, had a wonderful time. I know you've been doing Panto as well. Hard work, but great fun, isn't it? Yeah, so I love doing Panto. The first Christmas after Paul died, a producer I worked with 20 years before rang my agent and said, you know, if Debbie wants to do Panto this year, I've got one for her. And I thought, Christmas is going to be my worst time, because Paul and I just loved Christmas. So I've done a Panto every Christmas since he died, and it's always been the right thing for me.
But it must be tough going on Strictly, because your fitness levels, for one, you've got to keep those up, haven't you? Yeah,
I'm on Strictly, I couldn't eat enough, and I was still losing weight. Wow. You're just training so much, and I can't describe it but it just absorbs you. Your brain cannot think of anything else. You know, you wake up in the night with these movements going through your head and counting the music and thinking about the music and the dance steps. You've got to pay bills and things, but it's like, oh, I can't concentrate. Nothing else will go in. So, yeah, it just takes over you.
So what's 2020 got in store for you then?
Well, 2020 is really exciting because, first of all, I'm here.
You're here, yeah.
But also, I've been offered to do some straight acting.
Wow.
So I've never done any straight acting before. I mean, pantomime, we can't call acting, can we?
No, it's
It's
not.
overacting,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
And if I forget my lines, I make a joke of it and, I get the giggles and that's
Yeah.
fine. But I'm going to do a Peter James thriller called The House on Cold Hill in a little theatre. It's not that far from where I live. It's a dinner theatre where you have dinner and go in and watch the play for a couple of months. So I thought it's a good place to start to see if I can do it, really.
Excellent,
So,
yeah.
I don't get nervous if I know what I'm doing. But when I had to go and read the script for the director, I haven't ever had to do that.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most nervous I've been in years and years and years. But, I got the role, so they obviously think I can do it. So I think I can do it.
Okay, and will there be time for a holiday this year then?
Yeah, I've just actually I came back from Barbados yesterday morning,
Oh, wow,
and then I
you're
flew.
showing off
I flew here, so I landed at Gatwick, went home, dropped my suitcases, picked up an overnight bag, and here I am. And I'd never been sailing. I'm a qualified helmsman on motorboats, and I live on a river, so I've got an electric boat on the river. Well, that's quite easy to manoeuvre, and then. Not November just gone, the one before, some friends that I've made in my village who I didn't really know that well. There were 4 of them going sailing and said, we've got a tiny cabin, Debbie, left, but you can fit in this bunk. And it really was small, and I'm only 5'1". Would you like to come? And I thought, yeah. Why not? Let's go and learn something new. So I went with them. I just loved it. And so they've invited me to go for 2 weeks this time. I just went for 8 days last time. So that's in March before I start the play. So, I'm the luckiest girl in the world.
Yeah, you really are.
Yeah, I am. I know. I've just, I have a lovely family. I've got great friends. And I'm getting all this work. So it's fabulous. Yeah, Paul would just be delirious. He'd love it.
Debbie, it's been great talking to
And
you.
you
Have a
too.
fabulous day here in Belfast.
Well, I can't not, can I?
So there we go, a little look behind the scenes at Kiss Me Kate, which is currently running here at the Lyric Theatre. Jolene O'Hara and Matthew Cavan are in the show. They're going to tell us all about it. Guys, welcome. Tell us about Kiss Me Kate then. From what I remember, Jolene, it's a show within a show, isn't it?
It is, that's exactly what it is. So it's a show of The Taming of the Shrew, a musical version of that. And Fred and Lily, who are the main characters, they have their band of players. And you kind of need to make it up for yourself, whether it's a good show or a bad show of The Taming of the Shrew. But the main show of Kiss Me Kate also centres with Fred and Lily and their tumultuous relationship behind the scenes and on stage too.
Okay, tell us about your character then.
Well, my character, so I play a multitude of characters. As you can see, it's one of those ones that I'm not quite sure how much I'm allowed to say. But my main character is kind of like a fairy-like character that is it's what is in Fred's mind throughout the whole show.
Okay,
Really.
sounds intriguing.
It is intriguing. You have to come and see to find out.
Matthew, tell us all about your character then.
I play a character called Paul. Well, again, playing a number of different characters. My main character is Paul. Paul is Fred's dresser. Fred is the director, and he also plays Petruchio in Taming of the Shrew. So I am playing his dresser, but then I also play Grimio, who's trying to fight for the love of Bianca in the Taming of the Shrew, where I get to have an amazing song called Tom, Dick or Harry with 2 of the other actors, and is brilliant. And then I get to open Act 2 with Too Darn Hot, the big rising number of the show.
Of course, that has to be a career highlight then.
It certainly is, yeah. I've had a number of career highlights with NI Opera. You know, I've got this. Last year I played Pirelli in Sweeney Todd, and I got to do that. And then the year before, I played Mrs. Peachum in Threepenny Opera. So I've kind of had 3 really good career highlights with NI Opera and the Lyric Co-productions.
And are you enjoying working with NI Opera?
I love working with NI Opera, so I've been doing the last 2 years as well, so we kind of feel like company members at this stage. And it's always really different. Like, you don't really know what's going to happen whenever Walter brings his vision to things. And it's just always really stylistic, and it's like a spectacle, every single show that they do, that we've done with them so far.
So people might think they know this show, but I would imagine there's lots of kind of new twists and stuff in it, yeah?
Yes, whenever Walter takes on a production, he likes to do his version of it, which is wonderful to be part of, because there's so much play in the room, and you get to really go on this journey with him as a director and trying to, you know, get inside his head and beef out his vision of the show. And it's with 3 weeks rehearsal process is quite a quick rehearsal process for such a big show. Luckily, you know, we have kind of all our stuff down, but I feel so terrible, not terribly, but I feel a lot for our 2 leads. They have a lot to do, not only with the Kiss Me Kate script, but then they have to do the Shakespearean Taming of the Shrew script, which is really quite difficult.
Yeah, of course. Tell us about your other cast members. Jane Weisner's in it.
Jane Weisner's in it. She has gone from being my daughter in Threepenny Opera to now me trying to fight for her love in this one. Jane's amazing, just a brilliant girl to work with. She's a lot of crack in the rehearsal room.
Yeah, she really is.
We've got the amazing Marty Maguire playing one of the gangsters, again, who is just this breath of fresh air in a rehearsal room and brings a lot of comedy and crack, especially on long rehearsal days when you're in and by the end sort of getting about 5 o'clock and your brain is kind of starting to zap, and then Marty just comes in and then picks you right back up. But yeah, we have a cast of 13, which is quite a big cast for a production in the Lyric. And we are all getting on fairly swimmingly. It's great. It's really
There's no egos.
No egos, no drama.
Well, that's the thing. The saying is, I'm not going to say what the saying is, but there's usually one. Yeah. And you're thinking, is it me then?
I'm the one if there's no one else. Yeah.
So the drama is strictly in the show then.
Yeah.
Yes.
It certainly is.
Fabulous stuff, guys. When does the show run to?
We run to the 22nd of February. And so a nice long run. We get to celebrate Valentine's Day with an audience, and we get to do a show about love. So
great stuff. Well, thank you so much, and the very best of luck with the show.
Robin, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having us.
Now, C21 Theatre Company are back with a brand new comedy called Dream, Sleep, Connect. We're going to find out more because Stephen Kelly and Rosemary Jenkinson join us here at the Lyric Theatre. Guys, welcome. Rosemary, this is a comedy all about online dating, I believe.
Well, there's a few other aspects to that. So it's really about digital disconnection in the modern world. But yeah, there is quite a lot of online dating in it, and some excruciating scenes, as you can imagine, of the blind date scenario.
So what I got to ask you is, because you're the writer, you must have had some experience of online dating then.
Well, for research purely, Robin, but I did. I went on Tinder because Tinder features in the play, so I thought I can't just go in half-hearted. I have to immerse myself totally in this. So I did, and I had a guy contact me, or I had a couple of chats, and quite embarrassing what they were asking for. And then one, I went on a date, or I was due to go on a date, and 3 hours before the date, he cancelled. Right. So there's a lot of bottlers in this world, and I find I was on this thing like, you know, all the time, because basically you want to respond to whoever's chatting to you. So it's so time consuming and time wasting. I find it totally disastrous. Yeah. So that all my experiences from that and the chats that I had have gone into this play.
Okay, tell us about some of the characters we can expect to see in this play then.
Yeah, we have Chris, who is a bit of a computer geek. I know that's a bit of a stereotype, but he's charming with it. And he really is working on a technological solution for Brexit, if such exists. So it's basically his experiences to get human connection throughout the play, through the whole digital world. And he's played by Richard Clements, who's a brilliant actor who Stephen and I have worked before with in Stitched Up some years ago. And The other character is, there's 3 roles played by Maria Nickolay, and she's brilliant at multi-rolling. She was Arlene Foster in one of our previous plays. So if she can do Arlene, believe me, she can do anyone.
Stephen, what attracted you to this play then?
Robin, the way it goes is Rosemary and I, we've commissioned Rosemary about 3 times over the last 4 years, which has been fantastic. So it's obviously a partnership that works. So we kind of get together maybe a year in advance and say, what's current, what's happening in the world out there, the big bad world, and maybe what do we need to maybe address and look at, So obviously throw Brexit in there, it's kind of topical, and borders and different things like that. So we talked about that, and then Rosemary writes so fast and she's so witty and so good at that, so I kind of plant a few seeds and then she goes off and does her work. So we did talk about that, and we talked about the whole technical side of things and how it can be very overwhelming and how it's a phenomenon, and not only in young people, but there's we're all addicted to it. We never have our phones out of our hands, no, I don't, anyway. So it was a combination of that, I think, and we wanted to look at that whole kind of online fraud as well as slips in here, and how that identity is masked so much as well, and that a lot of these relationships, these online relationships, and how are they real? A lot of them are fake, and how important it is with that human interaction. Rosemary touched on that already. That is, in my opinion, there's nothing like sitting down and having a talk or a coffee with someone rather than, it's taken over.
Even
really
having coffee with people these days, they're still at some stage still tweeting or texting or doing something on their phone, aren't they?
Yeah, it's total distraction to live reality now. And I think you're saying about fake people, it's fake news as well. Everywhere we're just inundated and we don't know what is true anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I guess we wanted to create something that with that umbrella of having everything under that umbrella, and Rosemary came up with this then off the back of our conversations, which is what we usually do. We usually talk about it, and then she goes away and thinks, and then we create a draft, and then we kind of look at that draft and see, is it bang on, or do we need to doctor it a little bit, So that's kind of the process, but I think it's very current. So yeah, it's very contemporary. It's a dark comedy. It's very topical, and people will get it, because not only is Tinder in there, but Brexit is as well. So it's massive.
Tell us, Stephen, about C21 Theatre Company. Is 2020 shaping up to be a good year?
Well, C21. Funny you say that. We're the name actually. C21 comes from 21st century.
Right.
So we started at the beginning of the century, and it was myself and Peter Quigley co-founded the company.
Because we all miss Peter so much.
Yeah, and that's what I say. And I know Joan McCready was in the building here today, and the lyric as well. And Joan was a close friend. I had a quick chat with her before this interview. So we started at the beginning of the century, and we're nearly into that we're now in the 21st year. Well, this would be, wouldn't it be? So it's and here we are sitting. But so we as far as C21 is concerned, we look at a lot of contemporary playwrights within Northern Ireland, especially. And that's why we work so well with Rosemary. And we are a touring company essentially as well, so we would tour quite a lot throughout the year. We had, actually in June 2019 last year, we were in Australia. And we took a one-woman show out there, the show that we did actually in the Lyric here in 2018 around homelessness, and we took that on a tour of a mini tour of Australia, and Rosemary came out with us. We had to take her,
It was just a free holiday for you, wasn't it?
He did rope me into a few sort of interviews and things, unfortunately.
So I never saw her the whole trip, but she was there. Apparently, she was there. So that was huge. A lot of work was undertaken to make that happen, and then with the same show we're going to Brussels in February in about 2 or 3 weeks time, for the Northern Irish Showcase in Brussels, so that's very exciting. So yeah, the company, as I say, we started small. Peter and I co-founded it, and it's just gone from strength to strength. You know, I mean, we have there's an education side of it as well. We did Shakespeare productions for 4 or 5 years in a row, pared down versions that we took around schools. We look at contemporary playwrights and contemporary issues, yeah. So it's. And we've just acquired our own space within the last couple of months as well. So it's exciting times. Yeah. 2020, as I say, we're going to Brussels, we're doing Dream Sleep Connect, and that's only the start of it. Potential projects as well that we're looking at the moment for later on in the year, a couple of really exciting projects, potential to collaborate with a Scottish company as well. So, and as I say, we also toured to Scotland within the last couple of years as well. Scottish Book we were part of as well, you know, but so we're keeping it going, but it's a one-man show a lot of the time, but it's the nature of the beast, it's the nature of the business, you know, and I kind of orchestrate a lot of it, and then we bring in, you know, freelancers and fabulous people like Rosemary to kind of make the projects happen and work, you know. And
if Peter was still here today, he'd be very proud of the success of the company, wouldn't he?
That's what I mean. You know, we, as I say, we both co-founded it. Peter was the artistic director, and then I took over from Peter, and sadly he passed away in 2015. Yeah, you know, look, it was a huge learning curve for me working under Peter, because the amount of knowledge, and it's funny talking about Peter sitting in this building where he graced the stage in the old building, you know, in the late 70s through to 80s, and then I was so privileged, and he just was a master at his trade, you know, and just the whole style that he worked with, and the knowledge and the stuff he could put, the quotes he could pull, you know, from nowhere, was just like, how does that even happen, you know? But he was a character, you know, he was a real character, but just a talent that you wouldn't believe, and I certainly learnt an awful lot from Peter, you know.
And Rosemary, there is something special about putting on shows in such a historic building like this, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Lyric. It's just that whole, the history of it, and the fact, what is it, 55 years old and things. I mean, it's just amazing, and feels, it always feels special, and it's never boring, ever. And we love the space that we're in, the Norton, we love it.
Rosemary, well, what's next for you? Are you writing away at the minute?
Yeah, I am. I'm on the proofs of my new short story collection, which is called Lifestyle Choice 10 Milligrams, and that will be coming out in March. Okay. So very soon. So straight after Dream Sleep Connect, I'll be on to the next project.
But you'll come back and tell us all about the book when it comes out as well.
Will indeed, Robin, yeah.
Stephen, give us the dates for Dream Sleep Connect.
Yeah, we're coming to the Lyric 18th to 22nd of February, and then we're on tour around Northern Ireland until the 7th of March. And that will include venues like Island Arts Centre Lisburn, Marketplace Armagh, Down Arts Centre, you can see I'm reading off here as I'm speaking, Sean Hollywood, Newry, and we have a Struel Arts Centre in Omagh there as well. So quite a nice wee tour, 7 or 8 gigs over 2-week periods. So get in there and book them. You can also book through our website, which is C21theatrecompany.com. All social media, Instagram at C21 Theatre, Twitter and Facebook.
We got it all in there, guys. Thank you so much, and the very best of luck with the show.
Thank you very much, Robin.
Now, 2020 is shaping up to be a busy year for the Lyric Theatre. We're going to find out about some of the big productions coming to the stage this year as Claire Murray joins us. How are you, Claire?
I'm very well, thanks, Robin.
So it looks like it's going to be a pretty busy year here at the Lyric, and I see from the programme one of my favourite shows of last year, Shirley Valentine, is coming back.
Yes, indeed. It was a really big hit of last year. As expected, I guess. It's a really popular title by Willie Russell, but we give it a Belfast edge. So young writer and our current trainee director, actually here, Oisín Kearney, he worked directly with Willie Russell to set it in Belfast, and reposition it as Belfast in the 1980s and make Shirley a Belfast housewife.
And of course, Tara Lynn, who we all know from Derry Girls, is Shirley.
I know, and she is such a wonderful actress, such a warm energy, and I think that was a real key of people just falling in love with the piece. She just had to look at you and smile or cry or whatever, and you were there with her. It's a one-woman show as well, so that was a bit of a difference. A lot of people expected to have the full works, the full, Greek island and all the inhabitants and so on. But no, she did every single bit herself, and it totally worked because of her charm and her great ability as an actress to get all that across. It was wonderful.
Another big show that's coming is 1984. I've never seen this on stage before. I know it's kind of a slightly different version this time round, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So this is a new adaptation of course, the George Orwell novel. Many people will be familiar with and possibly studied at school. And this is a new interpretation of that for stage. It was on Broadway a few years ago, and really it was kind of the talk of the town because of, I think, its rawness. But then, of course, the themes around it are indeed very hard-hitting and really relevant.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess that's what makes it so kind of anticipating a real reaction to it, because of just, the times we live in at the moment. And I think the same reaction happened when it opened on Broadway those few years ago. And the audiences just absolutely were spellbound. There was quite a lot of really big reactions to it, so we are expecting something of the same. And that will be from the 18th of April to the 16th of May, and directed by Lisa May.
Okay, brilliant. Let's look at something coming in March. In the Name of the Sun, the Jerry Conlon story. This is by Martin Lynch.
It is.
And I'm looking forward to this one.
Oh yes, of course. We love Martin Lynch. His work is fantastic. And he was here at the launch of our Careless Love season, and he talked about the inspiration behind this, and really the story, the kind of the unknown story really of Jerry Conlon. And obviously we know where he ended up and the circumstances surrounding that, but this is really about him, the person, and the kind of devastating effect that that entire period had on him and on so many other people. And obviously it's set, during the Troubles, and it's very, I think, again, a very raw piece. But Martin will not let us away without huge laughter.
Lots of humour in it.
Loads of humour, black humour, and just, an out and out great night, no doubt. And yes, it's appearing on our main stage, which is wonderful. We're really looking forward to working with Martin on that.
Now, we all saw the BBC adaptation of Dracula on our TV screens recently.
Yes, did you see
it? It was very different. At the start of it, I wasn't sure, but I loved it by the end of it. And you've got your own adaptation of Dracula coming as well, haven't you?
Yes, we do. So Dracula is coming to us at the end of June for 1 week. And that will be the Creative Learning's drama studio production. So the Creative Learning at the Lyric is something we are so proud of. It's run by our head of Creative Learning, Philip Crawford, and we offer drama studio to 18 to 25-year-olds who are considering a career in acting. And this is really a showcase production for the participants of Drama Studio who've been through that throughout the year, and former Drama Studio participants as well. And it is always a hugely ambitious production. Obviously, you can imagine it's a big cast. They're all squeezed into the Naughton studio, but we have a full professional set and costumes and music and soundtrack and all the rest of it. And it is always a wonderful experience to see the Drama Studio productions. Last year they did Dark of the Moon, and it was really, really well received. This year Dracula promises to absolutely have us on the edge of our seat.
So 23rd to 27th of June is the dates for that one. Yes. We got one for Leonard Cohen fans as well, haven't we?
Yes, we do. So Kieran Burke is a big friend of the Lyric. You probably remember him as our big bad wolf a few years ago in Little Red Riding Hood. And he also is a hugely popular singer and songwriter in Belfast, and has been singing here for years and years. And so yes, he has written a Leonard Cohen autobiographical sort of story, but also just, you know, a real kind of celebration of his music. And if you've ever heard Kieran sing, he is absolutely Leonard Cohen, in, you know, in manners and the musicality of his voice is absolutely beautiful. So we're really looking forward to that. It's called Famous Blues. It's one of 2 shows actually that Kieran is bringing to the Lyric.
Right.
He's also written another play that just, you probably are aware, these things are a long time in the making. Obviously the Lyric is a production house, so we write new work. We have a literary manager who helps writers develop work, and this is a piece that Kieran has been writing for quite a few years and is now ready to get to the stage. So No Citation is also coming to the Lyric from Kieran.
Brilliant. Something else that's coming back is Terry Hooley's life story, Good Vibrations. I didn't see it first time around, so I'm going to be first in to see it this time around.
You must be one of the few people in Belfast and in Northern Ireland not to have seen it. Yeah, this really, Good Vibrations, 2 years ago now. Again, a culmination of 3 years really of planning, writing. It's written by the original script writers of Good Vibrations, the film, of course, Colin Carberry and Glenn Patterson, directed by Des Kennedy, who, you know, is a hugely prolific young director in his own right. Is currently associate director of Harry Potter on Broadway, and we got this amazing cast of actor musicians. Every single night was a standing ovation, and you could not get a ticket for love nor money.
Exactly.
So there's probably a few more like you, Robin, who just
didn't
get
to see it. Yeah,
indeed. And we had waiting lists of nearly 1,000 people by the end, just really dying to get back. So we knew this had to come back. The really good news is this is coming back as part of a bigger tour.
Oh,
so it's not just coming to the Lyric, it's also going to go down to Dublin and to the Abbey Theatre, and there are plans for further afield as well. More on that later.
Something else that I couldn't get tickets for last year was Michael Cameron's Ruby. That's coming back as well, and I'm definitely coming to see it this time round.
Yes, it's a beautiful one-woman show, and what Michael and Libby, the actress, have done together on bringing this really beautiful, sad, poignant Belfast story of a Belfast girl. I wasn't aware of the story at all, really. I knew Ruby Murray. My surname's Murray. We talked about having a wee girl called Ruby. I thought, could we have another Ruby Murray? But I didn't actually know, the context of where she was brought up, the beauty of her voice. So the soundtrack to the piece is actually her vocal singing, and it's just amazing. It's a real celebration of a really successful, positive Belfast story, and also the reality of her life and dealing with that fame.
What about long-term plans for the Lyric now? Because I know you've got your plans in front of you on the table here.
We have great ambitions for the future. We all live and work in this stunning building, but it's almost 10 years old, would you believe?
Wow.
So people keep talking about the new Lyric, and actually we're like, well, actually we have lots of kind of work to do to keep it all going. But what we do here, we are all so proud of, and we really want to take it to the next level. We want to continue to be driving new work. And that means commissioning new pieces. Our literary manager is a relatively new role here as well, only just 3 years ago. And what Rebecca does is an incredible role in nurturing playwrights from all across Northern Ireland and beyond, giving them a platform to develop writing and new writing, which is ultimately the lifeblood of any theatre, and particularly a producing theatre, which we are, and also all the other bits that go along with that, to make sure that we are accessible. We launched a new pricing strategy at September there for our last season, which we're really proud of, which means we can offer £12 tickets for every single performance to the Lyric, Saturday nights included, so it's not just matinees and midweek, and that's really, really important to us, because we are at the hub of a community. We are a really important cultural venue in the city, and we have an onus to make sure that we are opening our doors and as accessible as possible. And all the work that Philip does, that we talked about in creative learning, is all part of that as well.
Claire, thank you so much for having us here today, and
Thank you for
the very
being here.
best of luck with the new season.
Thank you so much. You're welcome back anytime.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have time for on The Big Show this week. We're going to finish with some live music, and she's back once again. So here is Maria Nickolay. See you next time.
Dirt roads and iPods, playing our favorite songs. We'll take the back roads, 'cause it's all we've ever known. The brakes hit the car floor as we've nowhere left to go. Do anything to forget that we can't bear to go home. Give me a reason to leave this all behind. Help me believe that there's something out there left to find. Oh, tell me a story. Let me slip into your words and fly away. Oh, tell me a story. Get me out of this town and this place. Oh, tell me. Over and over, we rise with the sun. Put our nose to the grindstone like we have always done. We're bruised and we're broken, and we work to the bone. So why do we cling to this hell that we call home? Oh, tell me a story. Let me slip into your words and fly away. Oh, tell me a story. Get me out of this town and this place. Oh, tell me. Fire, like we have our lives to spare. No one to tell us no, as if we'd even care. The lost will forget their worth, and the ones who've gone away. Someday we're hoping they'll have stories of their own to say. Oh, tell me a story. Let me slip into your words and fly away. Oh, tell me a story. Get me out of this town, this place. Oh, tell